Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mikey, and this is Deep Red Pictures. Today we'll be having a Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler discussion, so if you have not had a chance to go and check out that movie, which is very unlikely, and I know I'm getting to this pretty late, please feel free to click away. You guys think the one person's gone? Cool. Alright, so Deadpool follows Deadpool as he is offered a place in the MCU by the TVA. But instead he ends up enlisting the help of one variant Wolverine to try to save the existence of his planet before it goes extinct. Not gonna waste too much time. I'm just gonna tell you guys right off rip, I really enjoyed this movie, but it's not without its issues. So let's get into it. Starting off with the positives, I really enjoyed that opening dance sequence that we were treated to slash fight. As the movie opens, we find that Deadpool is trying to find Logan's bones specifically, or body, because he's under the impression that Logan is still alive and pretty much just taking a dirt nap. And I think as fans of Logan and the Fox universe, we were all pretty much holding our breath, thinking, don't do it this way. And gladly, they didn't. We find Deadpool finding his bones, and that is the confirmation that we needed, that they were not going to touch the legacy of Logan. But it also then leads to the TVA coming to find him because they know that he is essentially trying to save his timeline. And it leads to just a pretty badass opening fight sequence where Deadpool is using Logan's bones to kill TVA members in very unique and creative ways, while we're also then given these very interesting vignettes of Deadpool dancing to NSYNC's Bye 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 in a very snow-saturated forest. And then jumping right off of the heels of that, we start with some of the bigger cameos in the movie. We get to see Wolverine in that classic brown suit, and we're also kind of hinted that he's about to have a pretty good fight with the Incredible Hulk, which was it's really cool to see. Obviously, kind of wish you get to see the fight, but beggars can't be choosers, because there's so much more in just the next couple Wolverines that we get to see, one of which is the comic accurate Wolverine that fans have been clamoring for since 2001, and I'm happy to report that it looks about as ridiculous as I've been reporting it would since 2001. Very funny though, and they knew that, so it played for good laughs. And then this is kind of the first big real cameo in the movie, which I didn't see coming. Deadpool enters one of the TVA portals and walks into a room with a Wolverine with his back turned towards him. And when he turns around, it is Henry Cavill playing Wolverine. And he tells him, why don't you join me and we'll treat you better than the guys down the street. Just gold. Then, through a series of events, we end up in the Void. And I'm going to get to the Void later in the video, but pretty immediately we're given this really cool fight between Deadpool and Wolverine, where we finally get to see Wolverine use a lot more of that animalistic instinct than we've ever really gotten to see in movies. At one point, he's literally down on all fours, rushing Deadpool, and it's such a great scene, and it's all so well choreographed. Cue the next big cameo. As their fight is coming to a conclusion, we hear a familiar voice as vehicles are approaching the distance as well. And we are then shown a hooded figure. He's got a blue hood on, I believe it's white wrist wraps, and there are red accents. And as you're looking at it and he's talking, you're starting to hear that voice. And you're like, oh my God, it's Captain America. They're really gonna do it. And Deadpool believes it too, drops down, does a superhero landing, and I think Deadpool says, he's going to say it, Avengers, and then you just hear flame on. And it's Johnny Storm in the MCU. It's kind of the dopest cameo. Like, kind of in general, just because of Chris Evans getting to come back and getting to see Johnny Storm once again. And then, as I said, we are also shown a series of vehicles approaching from the distance, and there we are treated to a bunch of the X-Men Rogues Gallery villains. So that's pretty cool, and I'm going to talk more on some of that in a moment. But then we kind of jump into the main villains' sort of interest in the story and why they're here. And to me, some of the motivations in the movie start to fall kind of apart. They're a little weak, in my opinion. To me, it's never really necessarily made clear, why Cassandra cares to do any of what she's doing. She seems pretty happy in the Void, even though she was, subsequently banished there. But she seems to be enjoying it, so I don't really see a point in really what she is doing on her end to bring on this cataclysmic event that's going to happen at the end of the movie, other than just rage. And that's, I don't know, she seems a little bit more complex to me, at least. And from that point, we are then brought to a scene where we find Deadpool and Wolverine meeting a variant dog of Deadpool, and that leads to some of the grosser but funnier jokes in the movie as well. But it also leads to my favorite fight sequence in the entire movie, which is the van fight. Just such a beautifully choreographed fight for how confined of a space we find our heroes in. And I really didn't think that the MCU was going to go as violent and bloody as they allowed this movie to go, because make no mistake, this is a far more violent and bloody movie than Deadpool 1 or 2. Even just this fight alone, I was very surprised. Like, at one point, the camera pulls back and the van that they're fighting in is literally just blood-soaked. But inevitably they wear themselves out, since neither one of them can die, and I don't think either one of them necessarily kills or cares to actually kill the other. So they tire themselves out, and we are then kind of segued into the bigger cameos in the movie. You see like a pair of like punk boots walking up to the van and walking them away, and you're kind of getting a sense that you can tell who it is, and it is Laura from Logan. She is a little bit more grown up now, obviously, as years passed. And she brings them back to her lair where she has some sidekicks. And Blade. There's not even like a segue into that one. We get to see Blade, we get to see Elektra come back, but not the shitty Netflix one. Like Jennifer Garner, Elektra, and Wesley Snipes Blade, not whatever bullshit that they're about to try to make at the MCU that they seemingly can't get off the ground. But that's not even the biggest one. In, I think it was 2014, we were promised a movie starring one Channing Tatum as Gambit. And I think fans have pretty much collectively lost hope in ever getting to see that. But Ryan Reynolds and the folks over at Marvel decided that we were going to get at least something with Channing Tatum playing that character, and I am here to tell you, it's so good. It's the best. Like, if they do like anything with Gambit moving forward and it's not Channing Tatum, I have absolutely no interest. And the last positive that I have to discuss today would be the Deadpool Army. It was something that was kind of hinted at in like the promotional material, and I think we kind of had an idea of who we were gonna see and stuff like that, like Lady Pool, Head Pool, Dog Pool, Baby Pool. But my goodness, there is so much just to see in that one scene of just Deadpool variants. but the highlight of the scene has to be for me, and I know Tyler doesn't feel the same way, getting to see Wolverine with the full suit, mask included. I think me and Tyler were talking about it. I don't think he's the absolute biggest fan of the way that all of that looks. I personally can't think of a way that that looks good in a real world situation anyway. So I think that this is very much not the best that we're going to get, because I'm sure Marvel is eventually going to play with the character and do more with the design and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't think we can really complain about this one. Speaking of complaints, I guess it's time to get into the negatives. This is going to be pretty nitpicky stuff. Overall, like I said, I really enjoyed this movie. My first real negative of the movie is the void. I've never been a big fan of any plot convenience or contrivance or device that puts our heroes or hero or protagonist in a race against time where they're also then placed in like a void or an insane asylum or a multiverse or some different world where they need to get back to their world on time to stop this threat. And it's just thin and lazy, in my opinion, and it always has been. It's not just this movie being lazy. And while we're broaching the topic, we might as well talk about how thin the story is, because it is a very thin story. Ultimately, Deadpool needing to save his universe isn't necessarily the heart of the story. The heart of the story is Deadpool really wanting to matter, so he tries to join the Avengers, and when they deny him, he ends his relationship with Vanessa, stops being a superhero completely, and becomes a used car salesman with Peter, which is great for comedic moments and laughs and stuff, but it doesn't feel like the character. It doesn't necessarily feel like the Deadpool that we've known. So it just kind of doesn't really work for me. But again, I don't think anybody was going to see this movie in hopes for some award-winning story. I think we were here for what the trailers and rumors had promised, and this movie delivers all of that. Moving on to the next negative, the Sabretooth and Wolverine fight. We are promised, and I think it's the final trailer, that we are going to see a fight that fans of this era of superhero movie have been waiting to really see, because we were given a taste of it in X1, but not really, like not enough. And then an idea in X-Men Origins, but that's not Tyler Mane, and that movie's a dumpster fire. So we're finally promised we're gonna get to see this thing, and it ends exactly how we all knew it would. And I think that that's almost bittersweet in its own way, because there's nothing that Sabretooth is going to be able to do in that fight that will lead to his victory. He can't kill Logan. He can't destroy him anymore. He, on the other hand, is very destroyable. So he dies in one move. And that's kind of anticlimactic for me, because I want to see my action figures fight. And then that leads to the last negative, which is kind of the final fight of the movie. Just another plot convenience or a device that I've never been a big fan of is when you have a villain so powerful that your heroes can't physically fight them. Again, I want my action figures to fight. So a battle of wits, and if my hero does this thing, it'll stop the villain from being able to do this thing, and without being able to do this thing, they won't be able to bring on the end of the world, so the hero's going to stop this thing and the villain's not going to be able to use this. It's just lazy. Find a creative way for them to be able to win that fight. There absolutely was one. We've seen it already in the movie. You used Juggernaut's helmet and you made her useless. Why did they leave that in the void? Why didn't they bring that with them just in case? I don't know. But really, that's it for the negatives for me. And I know it sounds pretty negative. I think everything sounds more negative than when you're excited about things, at least when you're monotone like me. But coming to the end of the video, I did want to discuss something that I've been seeing a lot online, and I just want to kind of touch on it because it's confusing for me. Not Not necessarily that I want to tell anybody that they're wrong for their opinions at all. It's not my place. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. So I hope you guys are kind to me and Tyler for ours at the end of our videos. But it is always kind of like, it's jarring to me reading the comments and reviews and stuff like this that say that this movie traded heart and story for shock and awe cameos. Those cameos are the heart of this movie. This movie is the culmination of 25 years of filmmaking that have come to an end. And this is a studio giving us an opportunity that was not involved with any of these characters to say goodbye to them. And I don't know, to me that kind of has more heart than just a MCU movie with a lot of cameos. So I don't know, for me, this movie kind of scratched an itch that I didn't know was ever going to be able to be scratched. Getting to say goodbye to these characters and getting to see some of them one last time made this movie a very, very enjoyable theater experience for me. For me, I can't remember the last time I laughed so hard in a movie theater, or I can't think of one time in my life that watching a movie my jaw literally dropped like it did the way that Channing Tatum showed up as Gambit. So to anybody who has that opinion or feels that way, maybe watch it under that lens, try to view it under that lens. That it's not just cameos for the sake of cameos. This is a love letter to every fan who, grew up watching these. Wait before you click away. I realized I never really gave the movie any sort of, letter grade or numerical value or any of that good stuff. So this is very much so editing Mikey. I know I look so different. Am I wearing pants though? Stay tuned until the end to find out. Like I said, I really enjoyed the movie. I'm sure I sound like a broken record at this point. If I were to give it a number rating out of 10, I would probably give it a 9.5. Like I said, it scratched an itch that I didn't think would ever be scratched, but it also, I don't know, this movie brought me back to my childhood. I remember having toys of so many of these characters and stuff, and specifically this iteration of these characters. So just getting to see them all one last time, just something that I think all Marvel fans, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm sure we're all very thankful for. But that's it for me today. That's me getting off my soapbox, I guess. So please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Anything helps. We really appreciate it. And click the like button. And I don't think we've hit you guys with this one yet. Turn on that notification bell. That way you guys are notified every time we post anything. Because that's how you guys find out that we post things.